Good morning. I'd like to start by thanking Robin for my invitation today. I think that events like this are absolutely crucial to share ideas, talk about different technologies, and perhaps help the UK move forward with regard to carbon reduction. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bennett, and I'm lucky enough to be Managing Director of a small company called Intelligent Utilities. We're based in a village called Warfield, just outside of Ascot in Berkshire. The company actually arose from the credit crunch. We currently deal with a lot of large companies, but let me start with my background. Just so you know exactly where I'm coming from. Predominantly, the last 22 years have been spent within financial services. The cooperative insurance, the beast that is Countrywide, spent 12 years at Countrywide, have a sound understanding of the estate agency industry. Also lucky enough to develop a lot of contacts within that time. And finally, 8 years ago, I opened Think Mortgages Limited, which is, you'll be pleased to hear, still trading despite the issues that the mortgage market currently faces. So Intelligent Utilities. We developed some gas and electricity products, which was for sale to the general public. So I think we have a handle on the real grassroots customer. These products were very successful, so we took them out to the marketplace to a range of other companies that arranged cheap gas and electricity for their customers, and that then spawned into 19 other products, all energy/money-saving products. Off the back of that, we now deal with a range of large companies, although we're quite small ourselves. Companies such as My Tree Frog, Industry RE, you may well have heard of them. They're the sponsors of the Green Awards in London. We have a product that's about to be launched specifically for schools, and we'll be launching the first schools carbon footprint platform, so the school can actually work out exactly where they stand with regard to carbon reduction. It also includes educational facilities for the children that fit within the national curriculum. Other companies that we deal with, I think B&Q or Kingfisher spoke yesterday, so we won't touch on them. The Energy Saving Network is a group of companies and investors that are essentially launching their own commercial Green Deal. And other companies such as Move With Us. Move With Us are an enormous legal network that deal with around about 1,200 estate agency companies. So again, have an awful lot of contact with people that move house. What I'd like you to do, if you'd be so kind, is to look at the green screen that I've put behind you, and I'd like you to imagine that is 100% of the UK's population that can buy green products. Sadly, only 15% of the 100 actually consider green products. And I think within the UK we need to ask ourselves the question why this is, why this number is so small. And tragically, 2% actually buy green products. In my opinion, there are a few reasons for this, which I think we need to understand before I move on to the Green Deal. One company we deal with, Energy Helpline, they're one of the top 3 comparison sites within the UK. They switch millions of customers for gas and electricity every year. And Mark Todd, the co-founder, was kind enough to provide us with some information which I think you may find interesting. Of all of their customers, only 2% actually choose green products. Now, these customers, when they change, benefit from an average of £151 a year saving on their energy bills, which equates to a 16% reduction. So in this instance, it isn't cost that deters people from taking green products. However, if you dig a little bit deeper, the non-green products are cheaper. They can actually save more money. It's quite interesting to look at the demographics, because of all the people that actually do look at the green products, is generally speaking the younger age group and the older age group that select the green products, and everyone else, or the vast majority of everyone else, reverts to the cheapest product. So therefore it would suggest that cost of green and perception of green products is an issue. With regard to Energy Helpline's advertising, when pitched as a green switch, they're literally picking up 1 to 2% of their business. And I think that if the public perception is changed, they could certainly pick up a lot more. So, I don't think it's any great shock to say that green is difficult to sell. And the problems with going green are, generally speaking, the cost, the customer awareness. A lot of people don't believe they can benefit the world's climate by changing to green products, and the perceived benefit. When I say perceived benefit, it's something tangible that they can actually see. Vegetarians, if you wouldn't mind looking away. That's right, I can't show you the noise at the moment. There was an advert that was, I believe, in the early 90s, a company called Mattison's that actually advertised sausages. But this particular advert was a stroke of genius, and their sales went through the roof. Literally, all they did was play the sizzling of the sausages, and then they introduced the sausages. But as you watched this advert, for all the carnivores in the room, it appealed to all of your senses. First of all, through your ears, and you would imagine being in the kitchen, you could hear the sizzling. Then they actually produced the sausages. This is just a free picture off the internet, as opposed to Mattison's, I hasten to add. But the sales went through the roof because there was something tangible. While you watched the advert, it had the impression, or it made you feel hungry, because it was appealing to all of your senses. And it was the most tangible advert I had ever seen, and as I say, their sales rocketed. My group of companies, obviously I've mentioned Think Mortgages already. Intelligent Utilities are representing today. We have a lease company, or lease legal, which litigates against unscrupulous lease companies and refunds lots of money to predominantly schools and charities that get ripped off. But utility refund, I will touch on. This company essentially audits gas and electricity bills and provides large refunds to customers that have been overcharged by their suppliers. To give you an example, the average pub, we would gain an £8,000 to £10,000 refund. But when we do that, that obviously strengthens the relationship with the customer. And when we provide them that money, all of a sudden, the customer is then quite open to talk about other money-saving devices. Not necessarily carbon reduction or energy reduction devices, but they're viewing it from a financial point of view, money-saving devices. Now, the only reason that I'm stood here today, because I could be viewed as a capitalist, I just class myself as a businessman, was a short film that opened the International Green Awards last year, branching out for a greener economy. The Green Awards are very good for meeting new people against, picking up different ideas. I met a fabulous German chap that's actually genetically modified a hardwood tree so it grows as fast as a softwood tree. I also got to drink lots of fine free wines. And so I got to meet my hero, Sir David Attenborough. As you can tell, we probably had a little bit too much of the fine free wine. But I would recommend anyone who actually has a look at this video. It's all to do with saving the rainforests around the world and the financial benefits to the countries involved, as well as the carbon saving benefits. But there were two comments that came from this which made me feel far more relaxed with regard to my point of view. To change our world, we need to create financial incentives to stimulate the growth of low-carbon markets. And government need to work with civil society and the private sector to make carbon management financially worthwhile. Now, this film was narrated by David Attenborough. He's revered around the world, and I'm quite sure that he wouldn't say anything that he didn't believe in. However, what these two comments meant to me were very important, because I personally believe, coming from essentially a sales background, that money makes the world go round. I'm stood here today not as a green campaigner, and there will be many more salubrious people that stand on this platform this week, and I admire many of them. I am not actually one of those people. At my house, I do have solar PV. I do use energy-saving light bulbs. I try and do everything that I possibly can. But the reason that I'm stood here today is now to talk about the Green Deal and the financial benefits that come with the Green Deal. And it's that financial benefit that I think will make green more appealing to the general public. I'd like to introduce you to Harrison Bennett. He's my true motivation. He's my new 3-week-old son, so if I look a bit tired today, I do apologise. I want him to grow up in a nice environment. I don't want him, although I'm sure he will, I don't want him to have to worry about climate change. I don't want him to have to worry about droughts and floods, the water wars that will occur if we don't do something about the climate. I want him to see the animals that I currently see when I'm out walking. I don't want him to see my partner collecting up underweight hedgehogs because they've all been born too soon, because all of a sudden the hedgehog thinks summer's here 3 months early. Until I had Harrison, I didn't feel particularly old. I'm actually 42 years of age, but even in my lifetime, it's quite, thank you very much, even in my lifetime, it's evident that when I was younger, there was a summer and there was a winter. Summer holidays as a school child would be 4 to 6 weeks of sunshine, whereas at the moment that doesn't happen. So the climate is changing, and it's evident to me over the last 42 years that the climate's changing. So this is my true motivation. So the Green Deal. The Green Deal does have challenges. The UK, as you're all aware, no doubt, has Europe's oldest housing stock. Essentially, the majority of properties within the UK pour heat into the atmosphere. We waste energy left, right and centre. And the government has to meet its targets agreed at the Kyoto Agreement with regard to carbon reduction. Information from our friends at Consumer Focus says more than half of British consumers tell us they would be prepared to take action to limit climate change, with 3/4 of those prepared to insulate their homes. So why haven't they? This is the question that needs to be asked, and I think the solution to this problem is the Green Deal. 17,500 of 6.6 million solid wall homes are insulated each year. That's less than 0.002%. 49% of people, and I think this hits the nail on the head, 49% of people think they have little or not very much personal influence on limiting climate change. As a population, 49% has a massive bearing on climate change. But the general public don't understand it, they don't perceive this in the same way that I do. So, briefly, what is the Green Deal? The Green Deal is a financial package which will affect the estate agency industry, the letting industry, anyone moving house. The government will impose the Green Deal. Now, that may be done through stamp duty, that may be done through council taxes, and a range of other options. Essentially, it will give a home owner, regardless of their credit status, the opportunity to call in a Green Deal partner. That Green Deal partner or Green Deal partners will make the house green. They will improve the property. The charge to the customer is exactly the same each month as the amount their household bills reduce by. So if the work done to the property reduces the household electricity bill by £50, the customer will pay £50 per month, regardless of if they've had £10,000 worth of solar PV installed on the roof. Accreditation is stringent within the Green Deal. We also work within looking at certain insurances, certain warranties for the work that's actually being done. But I can assure you the government are, despite some of the comments that have been made in the House of the Parliament, the government, I believe, are getting this right. It will be a good quality package. The things that are included: heating, ventilation, air conditioning, building fabric of property, lots of insulation, lighting, the way people heat water. There's a whole range of products, and there's other products being added to that as well. One of them that we're currently looking at is run by a company called VO4 Home. This small box, very simple, very ingenious device. You're probably aware that the electricity that comes into your homes arrives at your house at 240 volts. Around 240 volts. This machine reduces the voltage to 220 volts. So all of your appliances will still continue to work perfectly, but you're reducing the voltage. And therefore, the energy bills automatically are reduced by 12%. This company actually guarantees a 10% reduction in bills. But this product would pay for itself within 2 years. So it would be financed through the Green Deal for 2 years. Then the customer owns the machine and they benefit from cheaper electricity. Another company we deal with, CO2 Solutions. They have another box, and this box is also a work of genius. This box we're particularly interested in to take out to schools. A lot of schools still burn oil to heat their buildings. An awful lot of schools still burn oil. This box connects up to the heating system, and it's an intelligent box. It looks at which bits of the school need heating, when it needs heating, and it works out the mathematics behind that and the most economical way of reducing the burn. And this can save a lot of schools up to 30% on their oil bills. More importantly, it reduces the carbon emission by 30%. Energy Saving Network is essentially a group of investors, an awful lot of money, which is in effect going to be a commercial Green Deal. So businesses can improve their premises and benefit from lower bills and own all of the equipment that's installed once it's been paid off through a form of Green Deal. There is opposition and there is misconception. Misconception we will touch upon. Our friends at The Guardian printed, and this was a while ago, homeowners will reject Green Deal for its high cost, environmental group warns. And they said that the market rate of interest on loans for energy efficiency measures will deter householders. Now, this is when the Green Deal was first being introduced, and there is an awful lot of work, awful lot of people working very hard on the Green Deal to make sure it's right. It's not 100% set in stone, there are still a few things to be decided. But as a customer, if I were to read that, I would automatically assume that my bills would go up and I wouldn't be very happy. As you read deeper into it, the householder pays nothing up front, but the equipment and installation costs will be added in instalments to the householder's energy bills. That's only partially true, but it gives the wrong impression to the general public. Green Deal customers will repay the cost of improvements at the rate their electricity bills reduce by. So a landlord, a private individual, a business only pays what they save. So there's no additional cost. But the benefits to the business of becoming green are evident. And once the equipment is paid off, they benefit because the bills actually reduce. Another point on here that's made by The Guardian, and this is a more up-to-date one. I thought I'd show The Guardian before and after. I think they actually looked into the detail. It says the Green Deal charge will be fixed from the start and is designed to ensure money is saved based on existing energy prices. So if energy prices actually increase, the customer actually saves more money. And it is, in my opinion, highly likely that energy prices will increase. Homeowners will face issues selling their property if the property is benefited from Green Deal improvements. Again, this is completely incorrect. In actual fact, no one will be disadvantaged, no property or any person selling a house will be disadvantaged if the property has undergone Green Deal home improvements. The purchaser may have an increased tariff when they move in because the payment will be taken within the electricity bill. But that house is using substantially less electricity. So there's absolutely no reason why that property should be viewed as a disadvantageous. Another recent issue, which working with my financial services company was a concern to me, because I have solar PV. Homeowners will face issues selling the property who's benefited from Green Deal solar PV installation. Now there was a company, or a single company, that put solar PV panels on a property and they didn't do the legal work properly. So that house is now unmortgageable. It's like someone parking a small caravan on the roof of their house and trying to sell it. It's just not going to happen. However, this again is misleading. The Green Deal solar PV is not a rent-a-roof scheme. The customers actually own the solar panels that are on their roofs. There's no reason for a lease. And it's the lease that would cause the issue to the mortgagee or the mortgage lender. This has also been confirmed by a chap called David Compton, a company that we deal with called Freetricity. They install thousands of solar panels every week. So he's pleased to rebuke the urban myth that the solar PV system on your house causes negative influence on the sale of your property. Even now, this company ensures that the legalities are right, that the lease on the property is correct. So when someone comes to buy it, or someone wants to sell a property, the mortgage lenders aren't going to have any issues whatsoever. However, if the public perception is that it is, we need to make sure that that message comes, the true message comes across. The Green Deal also offers fabulous commercial opportunities. First of all, the Green Deal must be sustainable. Now, we are talking billions of pounds of investment that are about to hit the UK. That investment, once the money is invested, so long as the public take up the products available to them, will automatically be followed by more money. So there will be more properties that can benefit from the Green Deal, because all the money that's lent, you have companies that are making money from it. The customer's benefiting by a more economical house and cheaper bills. But businesses must adapt to their business models or be left behind. What I would ask you to picture in your mind, in your own house, if your heating system was condemned and you needed a new one, would you employ John the plumber, who lives at the bottom of your road, to come round and install a system at a cost of £6,000? Or would you consider the Green Deal at £50 per month? The way the economy is at the moment, the financial climate, I bet the vast majority of the general public would choose to go down the Green Deal route. You have to ask yourself, where does that leave John the plumber who lives at the bottom of the road? The fact is, John the plumber will have the ability to register as a Green Deal tradesman with one of the Green Deal partners, which I believe there are 22, 23 at the moment. So long as he's formally accredited and he's formally trained, it's probably John the plumber at the bottom of the road that would get the work anyway. Education and awareness is absolutely crucial. A lot of the misconceptions we must put to bed. And I believe every business now has a true duty to influence customer behaviour. A very, very large company that you will probably know, I'm not going to mention because I don't have any dealings with them, they make an awful lot of washing powder. They have the ability now to make their washing powder perform at 10 degrees centigrade. But they don't have any washing machine manufacturers that actually have washing machines that wash at 10 degrees centigrade. So they're now asking those manufacturers to develop this type of technology. But it's important that the customer's made aware when they're looking to replace their washing machine that it's a consideration they should be making, because it's going to reduce their bills and reduce carbon emissions. This is what I mean by influencing customer behaviour. The UK government has earmarked £200 million of investment to go into the Green Deal. This is, I wouldn't say laughable, but it's a drop in the ocean of what's actually required. Companies that we're associated with already have investors investing over £2 billion waiting to be moved into the Green Deal. And the estimated spend on the UK for the Green Deal is £14 billion. This is an awful lot of money, and regardless of whether you believe in the Green Deal or not, this will benefit the environment. This will affect or help change an awful lot of properties. It will reduce carbon. The benefits, £14 billion, are 16 million properties improved within the UK. And another nice side, there's £14 billion going into the UK economy when I feel we need it most. That's an awful lot of work that can be done, an awful lot of work when they're going to be out working. And I think it's a good way to spend the money. I would refer you to a consumer focus leaflet, Green Deal or No Green Deal. Some fabulous information on there, fabulous statistics as well, particularly with regard to the public's perception. But in summary, this is the largest single UK investment in carbon reduction. It's going to benefit 16 million households, £14 billion into the UK economy. It is sustainable because the investors are desperate to invest as much money as they can. And it's the largest, in my opinion, the largest single factor reducing carbon emissions ever within the UK. More importantly, to change our world, we need to create financial incentives to stimulate growth of low carbon markets, and governments need to work with civil society and provide and private sector to make carbon management financially worthwhile. This is exactly what the Green Deal does. Will the Green Deal happen? The Green Deal will happen. The companies that I deal with, I can assure you that the Green Deal will happen with or without the government. There's an awful lot of money being invested within this. There's an awful lot of money to be spent that's readily available if the government backed out. And the government probably will push things back, perhaps to late 2013. But the Green Deal, I can guarantee you, will happen this year with a range of investors offering a Green Deal product. I'd like to thank you very much for your time and your attention. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions or any information I can provide for you. Thank you very much. Oh, we'll do the questions now.
Felicity.
Hi, I'm Felicity, and ultimately I'm a consumer.
Yes.
I'm from New Zealand, and I've been here a year and a half, and I'm going to pick up on your comment about the washing machines and the 10 degrees. Where I'm living when I'm at home, I can do a load of washing in 20 minutes in a top loader. Very quick, efficient, any temperature I like, do what I like with the load. Come here, takes 3 hours. If I want to do a short load, it takes 1.5 hours. I have not seen an improvement yet on anywhere I've lived, and I would love to know that one of those possibilities to speed up washing, make it quicker, use less energy would be there. That's the main thing I noticed. As a consumer, more time is being used on so many things.
Absolutely.
People's lives need to be made easier, and incentives, like you said, reduce costs.
Did you say you've come over from New Zealand?
That's right.
So lovely part of the world. I would suggest that in a way you're right. Obviously, I don't know what machinery you had access to at home. I recently had a new machine, which is an awful lot better than the previous machine. A 1.5 hour wash I can now do in half an hour. So I think things are generally moving in the right direction. But the message needs to come out from the big commercial manufacturers that there are machines that will now wash at 10 degrees and you can do the wash in half an hour. Hopefully that would make you consider actually going out and buying one. But it's a very valid point. Yes?
Mike, you go first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I arrived a little bit late this morning and missed the beginning of your talk, but the bits I saw were absolutely fascinating. You say this is going to be launched. Who's going to launch it? Your company? Is that the idea?
No, essentially my company sits in the middle of a range of larger companies. And we work with them in different ways. So some of them we're looking at insurances for the Green Deal. Some of them we're introducing products, and the products are being tested to be included within the Green Deal. We work with the companies that manufacture the products. So we work in many different ways with many different companies. Groups within our associated companies already have billions of pounds to invest. Financially, it makes sense. So even if the Green Deal didn't happen, these groups of investors want to do this because there is a financial benefit to them and it's an ethical investment, and there are not many decent ethical investments available at the moment. So this will happen with or without the Green Deal, because I personally believe it will shortly be announced that the Green Deal will be pushed back probably autumn 2013 because the government aren't ready.
Is that because the government are hesitating about their expenditure involvement?
I wouldn't say no. However, what I can tell you, dealing with the current circle of people I'm dealing with, there are still uncertainties which affect which products can be used, what products can be used, what type of warranty. Does it have to have a warranty, or can it be an insurance? Can it be self-insured by some of the larger companies, or does it have to be an external insurer? This is the reason I personally feel that the Green Deal will be pushed back, because there are still unanswered questions which are slowing the progression of the Green Deal to a point where I think the government are likely to say, let's launch this and launch this well and properly, and we're not quite ready to do it just yet.
Are you sure that's the reason? You don't think it's the fact that Lawson and
Osborne have got together and decided to row back?
And as I said, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. However, the private funding is available, so there wouldn't be anything to stop the government launching using the private funding.
Right, the private funds just ought to go and do it and forget about the government. I mean, the government's almost irrelevant, aren't they?
Well, it's interesting. Coming from the finance industry and working 12 years within a state agency, a few years ago we saw the withdrawal of HIPS, the Home Information Pack. Companies like Countrywide, who I worked for at the time, had actually bought companies in preparation of the HIPS pack. And then the government U-turned at the last minute, and some big companies fell because they've invested all of their money within this. The Green Deal is different because there is a route to make money. I believe there is a need for it, so long as consumer awareness is increased and some of the fallacies put to one side. Therefore, this will happen with or without the government. So I agree with what you're saying.
I mean, Lawson runs an investment house in Oxford on behalf of 5 Oxford colleges. It's called Oxit.
Right.
And one of the trustees is the bursar of New College, David Palfreman. So I rang him up and asked him what ethical strategy OXIP pursued, and he said, "We don't allow ethical considerations to distort our investment strategy," which is just about says it all, doesn't it?
Is there another bill, which is the large electricity company?
Hold on, Peter.
Is there another bill, which is the, or group of bills, we call them the vial companies, vertically integrated large electricity companies, who want to sell as much electricity as they can and will find ways around, it will influence the establishment of the civil service and the politicians. Are they actually really your big enemies?
I think we would be mad to assume that that isn't attempted. That will happen. However, the big power companies, as I mentioned earlier, with regard to changing policies and the Green Deal, if you're not in it, they're going to lose a lot of money. So I think you will find that the big power companies will actually attempt to be part of the Green Deal and actually become a major suppliers of the Green Deal. So although they will lose money because they're actually selling lots or lower levels of gas and electricity, I think you'll find that they will benefit financially if they become involved and actually help reduce carbon emissions.
Well, they'll just put the price up, is what they always do.
Potentially, but that makes the Green Deal even better because the price is fixed.
So, can you explain how the finances work behind the surface? What's in it for the companies who become involved in it?
Okay, basically, if your house was improved and it saved you £100 on your electricity bill per month, you would be charged, let's say, £80 per month, but there would be an interest fee of £20. So you're actually no worse off, but the investors are actually earning best part of 20% in interest. So that's how the investors are. It's not that high, I hasten to add. It's just to use nice round figures. But essentially, every payment that you make includes interest, which the investors make money on.
But the initial capital investment by the company is large. So they're in it for the long run.
Yes,
They put an amount in and they expect to get that back over how long?
At the moment, we're looking at insurance policies over a 25-year period. So when someone moves into a new house or a new home, they can have the entire house made green and pay for it over a 25-year period.
But not many people stay in their house for 25 years, so what happens when they move?
When they move, whoever buys that house benefits from the lower usage of electricity.
But they're still paying off the original investment.
They are still paying off the original investment, but they actually financially no worse off because they're actually using less energy.
I understand. Okay.
But in effect, the household owner won't see their electricity or whatever bills go down, except in the same sense as a mortgage goes down over 25 years, because the initial investment is large, and essentially you're borrowing that money.
Now, initially, they won't actually see the bills go down. However, one of the two boxes I showed you, they actually pay for themselves within 2 years. So that actual funding, after 2 years, stops, and therefore you increase the saving that you made because you're not paying for that particular item anymore. And, more importantly, that then becomes yours. You're the owner of that particular product. So, everything, that there are 2 assessments that will be done on each property. And everything is calculated so that the customer will be no worse off than the bills they're currently paying. But as the equipment is paid off, obviously you benefit from cheaper bills.
Okay, I suppose just what I'm thinking is that the amount of investment, as you've said, we've got the oldest housing stock in Europe. So most of the properties you're talking about need a huge investment. External wall insulation, internal wall, all that, it's going to cost a lot of money. And so on average, you're perhaps saying that the kind of investment that goes into a property, the homeowner won't see any reduction in their bills for maybe 10 to 15 years. So the motivation is still green.
Yes, the motivation is still green, but I am fairly sure that over the next 10 years you will see business taxes for high carbon emissions. I think you will see changes to council tax for houses that haven't benefited from the Green Deal. There will be, let's call it financial persuasion for customers to benefit from the Green Deal. So there will be other forms of savings that will be made. I think we would be mad to stand in this room and say within the next 10 years businesses won't face a carbon tax. I think that will happen whichever government is in power at the time. I think that is the route that the government will take in order to make the UK greener. Because there are big penalties if we don't. We have to, well, not just the ethical penalties, but financial penalties.
And if you remember the slide that Andrew Warren showed yesterday from, ACE, Association of Conservation of Energy, and it was a McKinsey slide, and all the lowest cost options for meeting the energy gap were all to do with energy conservation. And I mean, this is the logical result of that graph, actually.
It's just interesting to hear how because you mentioned the carbon tax before now, and so what you're mentioning is actually essentially a carbon tax is on the agenda, is in policy making, and
well, fossil fuels are not going to get cheaper. They're a finite resource, they're running out, they're bound to get more expensive.
Yeah, but what you mean is that the tax is being, that's what's on the, maybe I'm a bit naive, but that's what's on the government's table about this Green Deal.
I think had the economy not been in the state it currently is, it would be in the public domain already. Not the actual tax, but consultation papers I think would probably be in the public domain already. And this is why at the moment there are many different forms of carbon investments. So you can invest in companies that issue carbon credits, but those carbon credits retain a value. Because if suddenly the government says if your company uses over, or if your company puts out over a certain amount of carbon, then these carbon credits are going to be very useful and have a decent value. But a lot of these companies are offering 10% investment, 10% returns on these investments already. So I think over the next 10 years it will happen. It may be offset if the economy increases with reduction in other taxes. I don't know. I'm not from the government. I'm of no political persuasion.
The other thing that's been suggested is that you transfer a lot of tax from income tax to energy use tax, and that you load it so that the more you use, the more you get charged per unit of energy. And then you have a very powerful incentive to implement this sort of thing, because profligate users of energy will be very heavily penalised.
Absolutely.
In the same way as people with big car engines have to pay a higher road tax. They're doing it already, in effect.
Can you just tell me who your company is?
My company is Intelligent Utilities. We have a range of products. Essentially,
is it a private company? Is it a public company?
I own the company.
You are the shareholder.
I am the shareholder. And Harrison, yeah, that will hopefully go in my will one day too.
Sounds like a conversation for coffee, I think, Peter. Okay. Roy, did you want to say something?
It reminded me of the lady at the back talking about washing machine. We've got a washing machine which is about 25 years old and it's still working. It's hot point, and we decided we'd go and perhaps get a new one. The one I have was made in Britain. When I went to get the same one, it was not British, so I decided to decline. Unless we buy our own, made in Britain.
It was interesting.
No industry or no future industry.
Absolutely. It was interesting because you referred to a top loader, which my mother swears by, even now. I mean, she's got, it's a great big washing machine. It's fairly economical, but you can She bought it because you can put whole duvets in it, basically. But she swears by the top loader, and top loaders are coming back. They're being manufactured more and more, and they can be very economical because the wash time is what you want to spend on the wash.
One more, Christina. Yeah, right, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, okay. You said that if you reduce from 230 volts to 20, you improve consumption. Well, I am finding it difficult to reconcile because you use power depending on what your resistance is. What you've effectively done is it takes longer. For instance, you put a kettle on, instead of 230, if you use 220, it'll take longer to boil if you have a hot plate or anything. So all you're doing is effectively reduce, you're just taking longer to heat up. So I just don't see how you can save energy.
Well, it would take longer, but the customer is charged based on the actual power received at the property. This machine reduces the level of the power that's received, so it may take a little bit longer to boil the kettle, but you actually do use less electricity, less voltage. And because of that, that's why this particular company guarantees it a minimum saving on household bills.
Not sure I understand that either.
I'm an electrical engineer as well, and it doesn't make any...
It doesn't add up to me.
It's certainly something I can email the details over to you. It's currently at Oxford being tested, so through one of our associated companies.
Well, not Oxford.
I don't know, to be perfect honest.